Hey guys, welcome to another episode of LarryBoy Fanatic, and today we're going to be looking at this movie. As we draw near the end of the Cartoon Adventure series, we get yet another awkward scenario in the LarryBoy canon. But you are looking at a movie that also has a book adaptation. That's right, there's a book adaptation to this movie, which is book 4 in the LarryBoy Chapter book series. But there are differences between the two. However, the movie came out first, so we'll judge this movie by its original format. Now, whatsoever critic reviewed this movie, and she coined a certain term in her blog post. But we'll get to that when we get to that. But for right now, let's jump right into LarryBoy and the Yodelnapper. So the video opens with Larry and Archie standing in front of a toy store? Perhaps that big line of people were there to go see Comic-Con, but instead they find this toy store. No, this is real, as Larry tells his butler Archie that he wants to buy some kind of doll that he's building a collection of. Now, in the book, the story goes into further detail of Larry's obsession over the doll. Here, the movie doesn't make that distinction. In fact, Larry just talks about the hula friend dolls that he has, while we zoom in on Archie listening with a lack of interest. You may notice, too, that Archie is a lot more involved in this movie than he was in both Angry Eyebrows and Lego My Ego. However, in this movie, I feel like Archie is enjoying the attention now. I mean, look at how he starts the scene. Well, yes, let me just talk to you, but then randomly turn the other way. Anyway, the store opens and everyone rushes in there like it's a Black Friday sale. And plus, we get Archie and he's trampled on by several people. Well, that's the price that he had to pay to get more screen time in a Cartoon Adventures episode. But that's nothing compared to getting squeezed by the Fib, beaten by the Rumorweed, and crashing into a wall in Angry Eyebrows. Be more considerate, Archie. Oh god, guess how this scene gets weirder. A giant pile of clay comes to life after mixing with a bunch of chemicals from some kind of science experiment lab set. And right on cue, LarryBoy takes on the monster by showing him a bunch of random toys. Oh yeah, a doll would surely stop the monster. Not. But at least a saxophone puts him to sleep. But then we get the most tragic thing to happen in this scene. LarryBoy learns that the Hula Heidi doll is sold out. Ugh. Dude, haven't you heard of online shopping? So Larry returns home and plays in the mud. Okay, the more this movie portrays Larry as a man-child, the more angry I get, because this is LarryBoy we're talking about, and his alter ego is sitting in mud crying over something such as like a, what is it called, a Hula Heidi doll? I mean, really? Yeah, throw some mud at Archie. We really need the chuckleheads of a middle-aged audience to laugh at this. Okay, what's weird about this is that he doesn't wipe the mud off, but just keeps talking. What if he had that mud on his face all day? I mean, how would that look like? Okay, while Archie makes a fool of himself with the mud, he lets it slip that there's a yodeling concert tonight and that somebody named Inger Warblethroat. Too lazy to make a joke for that name. So there's a yodeling concert, and Larry's Hula Heidi dilemma is forgotten. We then see this Inger Warblethroat person, who looks like a mix between Disney's Basil of Baker Street and Officer Scooter from VeggieTales. And he's supposed to be a yodeler? I mean, where's the Lederhosen? This guy looks like he's a detective rather than a yodeler. Also, look at Larry doing either the worm or the dolphin on the balcony. Okay, my apologies. I'm talking over a potential kidnapping scene. Oh, right on cue. So Inger gets kidnapped and LarryBoy is summoned. And there's a look of a guy that clearly doesn't get to ride the Ferris wheel as often, seeing that he rides the Ferris wheel in Lego My Ego. Well, no, he doesn't. After LarryBoy fails to rescue this yodeler, we cut to Inger, who wakes up in someone's castle.
No, he was not kidnapped by Bowser.
In fact, we're introduced to our villain, Greta Von Gruesome, and she's surprisingly decent compared to Awful Alvin. Well, granted, she's still a little weird because she's a greedy miser, but at least she has a cool castle, a badass costume, and some high-tech gear. Now, the plot is that Greta Von Gruesome kidnapped these yodelers so that they can only sing for her. Failure to do so, and she dumps a large bowl of pudding on them.
Someone was thinking about the Nickelodeon's green slime while writing this.
Anyway, we cut to Larry the janitor as he rides the elevator while talking to Archie on his mop phone.
It's canon.
Yeah, just reuse the animation of Archie from Angry Eyebrows and you get the scene where he tells Larry to hold the mop to the reporters so that the mop can record whatever's being said. The reason being that they need to find out if anyone knows who the Yodelnapper is.
Now, I forgot to mention that they use this term Yodelnapper instead of kidnapped because a yodeler is kidnapped, so until further notice,
Larry ends up running into Vicky after getting himself stuck between the elevator doors, only for them to exchange a couple of words before she leaves. That was pointless. We spend the next scene watching Larry annoy the hell out of people with his mop, trying to record them.
it's a mop. How is there even a recording device in there?
So not getting any luck by messing with the newspaper staff, Larry decides to go to a superhero class to ask his teacher, Bok Choy, who's mourning the loss of Inger Warblethroat. Bok Choy manages to somehow grow a pair, and he gives us a lesson about being content with what you have. But then the scene bookends with the teacher crying and banging his head on his desk.
Yeah, thank you for that movie.
LarryBoy meets Archie back at the Larry Cave, and we learn that Archie has a plan.
What is it? What's the plan? Tell me the plan. This is the plan?
Way to go out on a transition.
Archie explains that LarryBoy must pose as a yodeler and have the Yodelnapper yodelnap him so that he could rescue the other yodelers.
That seems like a very good plan. But the thing is, if you read whatsoever Critic's review of this movie, you'll definitely understand why we question this scene. Whoa, back up, son!
And if you pause it right here, it looks like he's staring into your soul. Now, he may be a nice guy, but if you say something but then stick your face into the camera like that, I'm not cool with that.
It's for the kids.
And whatsoever Critic coined a term for this awkwardness, the awkward face moment! So LarryBoy seems on board with the plan. Will you cut it out? Then word gets out that Noodle Blabberbop,
Yeah, that's LarryBoy's fake yodeler name, by the way,
is going to perform in concert, and Greta now wants to yodelnap him. So the night of the concert comes around, and already LarryBoy is getting stage fright.
Well, sure, he has every right to have stage fright. I mean, dressing up as a yodeler in public is a really hard accomplishment.
LarryBoy is then sucked away in a tube and taken to Greta's castle, where he gets trapped inside another tube. But then he reveals himself to her and uses a toy sheep to break out of the tube.
So, do the yodelers get to go free?
Nope! They all fall down a trapdoor and they're greeted by a pack of Hula Heidi dolls.
Oh my gosh, what a plot twist! Now I know who bought all those Hula Heidi dolls from the beginning.
So the dolls start attacking LarryBoy because Greta Von Gruesome programmed them to be killing machines now. Oh wow, how does our hero solve this massive problem? With polka music.
Huh?
We then see LarryBoy fight Greta Von Gruesome, and he eventually dumps pudding on Greta and ties her up.
Victory!
The yodelers are brought back to the theater, and they sing a song as tribute to LarryBoy. I did nothing but devise a really good plan to bait the villain, and I also stuck my face into the camera. I'm really useful in this series.
The end. Oh my gosh, really?
But don't worry, there's plenty of music for the clay monster to dance and listen to.
And that was LarryBoy and the Yodelnapper, the best comedy of all the LarryBoy videos.
You know, a scenario like this would almost work as a legit LarryBoy movie, but you get awkward moments every so often, and it dampens the seriousness that it tries to have when it comes to the story. The movie's moral seems tagged on, but the story was decent to where you can get away with some awkward moments. Except for that. On the other hand, there's nothing wrong with watching this episode in the Cartoon Adventure series. Yeah, I guess it's pretty harmless. Then again, wait until you see Greta Von Gruesome team up with Awful Alvin. But yeah, that's a story for another day.
So thanks for joining me in this episode of LarryBoy Fanatic. If you like this video, be sure to click that like button and subscribe. So all that's left is episode 4 of the Cartoon Adventure series. And don't worry, whatsoever critic is going to be joining me, whether she wants to or not.